Hello! First and foremost, we're really sorry that I couldn't be there today, but in a sense it kind of fits in with the whole nature of the APD because for the majority of it we haven't been together. We've met 3 or 4 times each, sometimes all of us, sometimes not. It's been a fantastic and very kind of different way to work from a standpoint of university, sort of doing long distance and just Skype conversations, things like that. So to end it on a video just seems appropriate, really. More than anything, it's a positive, definitely. But yeah, still sorry that I couldn't be there. Just to undermine myself at the start. Hope you're all okay. I guess I'll crack on. So the thing that became very apparent during the whole time that we were on the course is we had other commitments going on. It's not really an excuse as much as it is an influence for at least myself and many of us, I feel. So working in a job that you hate in order to survive is generally what most people do. Full-time adults, full-time routine. The APD has helped us realise a few things about that. I think we're all very conscious now of a certain contradiction of what some might refer to as normal life and being an artist as well. We deal with troubles as artists that aren't encountered by the average person. Our happiness comes from a need to investigate and make and to wrestle with something of our own creation, even if that creates more questions than it answers, which is a positive thing. I mean, what an art practice is freedom. And when you're a slave to a job, a food job, a rent job, a real job, a proper job, a full-time job, full on your time, on your watch, I think all of us are very conscious now of our own black holes compressing our time for art. Therefore, the APD has allowed us the privilege to be artists once more, to seek out a space and time where we can think clearly and re-encounter our own work. Some of us have eaten off the fabric of space and time and come up with new discoveries. We have tailored our practices to something unexpected, whilst at times losing all threads. They say that the human race has discovered 4% of the universe as tangible matter. The rest as dark matter, dark energy, dark something or other. And in any other field that'd be pretty poor. But the mystery excuses the statistic. As artists we stare at the stars. Our minds hit with invisible comets that are unpredictable at best. Impacts on a dark pinkish planet spew hot gas into the atmosphere. On a good day might get a storm, a chance of rain, something might grow. Hopefully something with multiple branches because you're hoping for something like a tree or to be able to tie multiple ideas to it. And you can also sit in the tree yourself and judge it subjectively at the same time. Unfortunately, with each new dawn there's a fresh dose of solar winds. Cosmic radiation subsequently kills all the trees and plant life, or at least puts them into some sort of dormant state. Followed by swift realisation that you've been bombarded by this as well. The pinkish grey earth cracks and dies, only harbouring husks of plant life until night comes around again. You stand there looking at the stars again, in the dark, with the roots of your own creations planted firmly in the pink, cool side of the planet. If only there could be a tidal lock with this orbit. You might be able to wander over into the heat side, or wander over into the dark side, to travel to the forest, which itself will grow even in your absence. Ideas would branch out into trees of others. We could communicate through code, lines, marks, even with light as a material. But I think that all of us are very conscious now that we need the sun to survive. It's difficult to make two works together, but that's the point. to make the two work together, to make the work life and the art life work together. The point is not to consider that art is a passion or irrelevant to everything else in life. Sometimes it's more like a job itself, the job you want to do instead of the job you have to do. Therefore, I'm losing my thread. Sorry. I mean, the relationship between the two is clearer that way. The little pink world inside your skull is going to overheat sometimes when it's orbiting that cosmic supergiant, consumer supergiant. Your art might be accessible only in the cool, calm nights, where you can pinprick at the holes of your own fabric of reality, letting new ideas shine through. Its supergiant will continue 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when you're not there. It will still keep burning, ejecting corona mass violently into space. Being an artist means you have to navigate carefully to keep your pink little planet safe. But since the APD, I've started to think that all of us are very conscious now of these 5 other little planets, hidden in the mist, heat and confusion of everything else we have to deal with, the 5 other little worlds other than our own. I want to talk now about my own practice really, and a little bit about how it's developed over the course of the APD. Previously my practice was static images that recontextualised well-known iconography through digital media, and I wasn't really happy with it. It wasn't really going anywhere. Sometimes this would be restaging of old masters' works in photography or in digital collage. The whole point of the APD was trying something new, but I couldn't figure out what that might be. In the midst of artist troubles, I took a trip for a few days and decided that writing was something that I wanted to experiment with, to open up the mental image of the reader rather than relying on composition and colour and if they know the Botticelli or the Caravaggio or not. Rather than relying on that sort of thing, I'd rather just think, I'm going to paint a picture with words and let everybody's imagination just go nuts. Which is, you know, I mean, it could be indistinct, which is a common technique amongst which is a common technique amongst most creative writers. They will say a Jabberwocky is a large creature with red eyes. That's it. It's only in the new adaptation of Alice in Wonderland we know it's this kind of dragon thing with a slick back hairstyle. But in any case, I'll read you what I wrote, so I'll just go load that up now and we can crack on. Let me tell you of Terra. Trees are an integral part of its life, and the whole city follows the roots, stumps and tree trunks of the forest. Identical cabins are made from fallen giants that were once touched the sea of light, which is now blocked by millions of leaves. Splashes of light still manage to seep through this luminous green blanket and print shapes onto the ground. The residents, however, are never fixed, always shuffling and interchanging. Not that this matters, as the forest is endless, and each time a tree falls, a resident is born and a cabin is made. It seeks to fulfill nature's endless canvas. The strange thing about Terra is that it's not a simple flat plain. The whole forest is a huge spiral concrete road flanked by cabins and trees. The people cycle everywhere, and the attitude to daily life seems to follow this philosophy of up or downhill. Gravity, motion, momentum, and direction are all important to the people here. There is little room for complex language, only movement and the construction of the same cabins and endless road. When communication does reach outside of movement, however, writing is adopted. Above Terra is an orange moon. Pieces of it every few years fall through the green membrane of soft leaves. Not a harsh fall like a comet or a stone impacting the earth, more like a gentle glide that produces a very quiet sound that only few in Terra have heard. In the day, it's nothing but a crude stone. At night, it glows and can observe the city, reading it and reacting to it with a kind of cosmic understanding. Unlike the trees, the birds, and everything else in the forest, there is not a direct relationship between the people and the moonstones. However, a sort of tie still exists, an extension of what most creatures feel when they observe the night sky, mysterious and ambiguous. A man came to me one night beneath the stone, claiming he could use it to make other things. You can't seriously think chipping away at it or destroying it, can you? I asked. He explained that he didn't mean the stone, but the light. I stood there confused. The man closed his eyes, and the stone projected complex images onto the ground. "This is my craft," he said. "I wait and mature ideas in the day, and come here to re-encounter them." After Tira, I travelled to the city of Nova. I could tell you how its steps make up the streets like rising stairways, the twists, branches of avenues that make up its complex and skeletal form. Its springs and moats are operated by drawbridges that span water feeds and channels and divide the city. Each key moment in Nova is recorded on a great tapestry, handmade and added to by a woman of incredible wisdom. Sometimes these moments are repeated, warped, convoluted, stitched with a different thread and pattern, a slight variation of another. She told me the tapestry binds them, the citizens, to the city. It records their pasts and helps shape their fates. She did tell me, didn't she? Yeah. She told me it uses a complex sequence of numbers and cryptic systems to knit not only the past but the future. I stood there confused. But why do you knit this instead of experiencing it? Why does it need to be recorded in such a time-consuming way? Surely it's just wasting your life away. But who's even going to see it? She laughed. She laughed at me. "This is my craft," she said. "To remain in focus, to have something to do, and to see people." After Nova, I found myself within a dark forest. For the straightforward path had been lost. I continued, with the firm foot always the lower. I came across a sad woman, her skin covered in strange markings and images. "Help me," she said. "What from?" I asked. "Life," she said. I stood there confused. "You want to die? Why?" She jolted her head and stared at me. "Not life. Life here." Her voice croaked and trailed off as her head sank into her collar. Then she started to speak in a dead, flat whisper. "Welcome to the gutter. Let me attempt to describe the gutter. The gutter is a place you just sort of end up, not a destination, more of a kind of state. One you slide and roll into without really knowing you're there. Well, not at least until you have dissolved into its sludgy makeup to realise you aren't who you ought to be. The gutter is a pit of what could have been, what might have been accomplished. Some come here looking for opportunity to break their current curses, the aspects of what they think are lacking. My time here relies on my next bit of time, a short fragment loosely tied to the next by a thread of anxiety, with no end point. I asked her why she didn't leave. She stared at me again and said, "I don't know, I'm a slave. I came here for, well, it's funny, I can't remember. Home? I should go after." Do I remember where home might be? Long after leaving these places, I now stand at the base of a large, rectangular cathedral covered in rust. There are strange markings on the floors and walls, as if left behind by something heavy or wet. The two monks approached me and explained that this was a language. What kind? I asked. One anyone can understand outside of any other language and language altogether, they explained. I stood there confused. Figures stood in the windows staring at us, as if they were judging our conversation, marking it, assessing it. I can't read it, I said. You're not meant to. But all you know is what it means, they said. All? All of you, the monks replied. I still don't understand. The monks pointed to the other end of the courtyard, and I saw the man from Tira, the wise woman from Nova, and the strange woman from the gutter. We went into the cathedral and talked about ourselves and our crafts. I even talked about the stories I write when I travel. All 6 of us always meet in some reality of some kind, always a kind of journey, but each time a slight variation of another. So, we're here now, and I don't really want it to end. It'll carry on going. With or without the APD, it will still carry on going. This is just a point of fracture in a cracked mirror of us trying to understand ourselves as artists. It's a piece that's fallen off out of the frame, maybe in the bottom left corner, or maybe somewhere around the middle. But it doesn't really matter. It will still spiral out and web from the initial impact of when we decided we wanted to be artists. So the fact we have this piece, this fragment, will inform us of an overall picture of who we are as artists, where it sits in the wider scope of our culture, of our country, of each other. So I'd like to round off, and thanks for listening.